Welcome to The Next Journey, the adventure travel podcast with me, Andrew St Pierre White. I'm a prisoner of this hill. Hello and welcome to Story Time. My career as a motoring journalist specialising in four-wheel drives started in 1993, where I wrote my first book, then another one in 94, 95 on, and I wrote a total of, I think it's 16 titles, and my original book was called Complete Guide to Four-Wheel Drive in Southern Africa, and it was on sale in the stores, in hard copy obviously, in that country for 24 years. It went out of print in 2017. It is available at the moment. The 2025 edition is currently available on Amazon. The reason why I'm telling you this is that this story is part of that journey as a motoring journalist. And I think I've got the dates right. It was 2001. I was living in Cape Town, just outside Cape Town. I was doing a lot of work at the time in Natal and in Johannesburg. I would go to Johannesburg 3 or 4 times a year to work. I had a regular column for a magazine, and of course continuing with my books and then producing videos, how to drive a four-wheel drive, 4x4, recovery, etc. And I was given a phone call one day. Andrew, my name is, and I don't remember the name, the company was called Extreme-16. We're building a unique, what do you call it? I can't remember exactly what he called it, but basically this was a multi-million-dollar venture creating a one-shop stop for 4x4s and accessories. And the concept was unusual. It was to bring in a massive building, huge building, new building to be constructed. A dealership, Toyota would be there, and Nissan would be there, and Subaru would be there, and Ford would be there, Land Rover would be there, etc. All the big manufacturers would be included in one huge showroom. Not unlike an expo, but permanently based. And as part of this, they would also invite top accessory makers to create a shoplet, as I say, one-stop shop. And they wanted a test track, a 4x4 obstacle track on which customers could drive and give a tryout on an off-road obstacle course. And my involvement was, Andrew, would you design and build us an obstacle course? Very exciting, right? I thought so too. I felt that I definitely had the skills to develop a course, but I did not have the skills to physically build it, or even organize it to be built. So I brought in my close friend, John Rich from the Stony Ridge 4x4 Academy. At the time, the best off-road driving academy I had yet attended, and I had been there a lot. I'd worked with John on his book, and I regarded him as an outstanding four-wheel drive instructor. And he had built a number of courses and obstacles on his farm in Natal, and they were really tested the vehicle in a nice way, and also it enabled great teaching. It wasn't just a case of, put it in low second and do this. It was, well, what in his technique would, well, what gear do you think? We're going to go down a very steep incline. What do you think the gear should be? Okay, low gear. Okay, why low gear? And he was a marvelous teacher, and we had a lot of fun driving there. I've got footage of me. I remember very clearly driving Pajeros. I remember driving my G-Wagon, my first G-Wagon, getting it bogged in the mud. And it was a wonderful place to drive. John's skills and my skills combined would be necessary to get this thing going. So I said to the guys at Extreme-16, I gave them a quote, and I don't remember what the exact quote was, but the initial costs, the costs of drawing the plans and getting rough cost estimates would be, if I remember correctly, 20,000 Rand, of which John would be paid 5,000 up front, and then as we started building, he would get another 5, and then another 5, and then another 5, and then therefore, and we John and I sat together and we decided on how we were going to split up the funds, and we both had travel expenses and things like that, and we basically shook on it and okay, we're going to do this. I then flew up to Johannesburg. I seem to remember getting a sponsored Pajero and driving down to John's place, and we sat for about 3 or 4 days at his place, and we drew sketches for 8 or 9 obstacles. And there were some really interesting side slopes, very interesting side slopes where you slide over and then one of the wheels lifts, not both, one of the wheel lifts, and what happens to the C of G of the vehicle. And we came after with some quite technical stuff, but also some stuff where anybody driving would go, wow, this is amazing. Meanwhile, it wasn't that amazing, it just might have felt amazing to somebody doing it for the first time. I was given a call during this process, and it was from the architects. Now, they had this big building, which still exists on, those of you who live in Johannesburg, particularly northern suburbs, will know, on William Nicol Drive, and it's a huge dome, right? And it has, I think it's a Toyota dealership now. It's been through many dealerships, because spoiler alert, it actually failed. But that's not the reason for I'm telling you this story. And I was given a call by the architects, and they said, Andrew, have you been paid? And I had invoiced an initial, I think it was 10,000. I think it was half of the initial cost was 20, and I think it was half. So I would get half and John would get half of that. And I said, no, I hadn't been paid. I had requested payment and I hadn't been paid. Okay, in this board meeting, 10 people in this board meeting, and the architects had delivered their plans. And they hadn't been paid. And so I had my warning signals were going off. Okay, they haven't been paid. And I haven't been paid. So just be a little bit aware. So they said, Andrew, welcome to everybody. This is Andrew St Pierre White. He's going to be present us with some of your ideas. And I had a folder, a professional-looking folder, and I had some slides to put on an overhead projector. And I put up the first one, and I said, the first obstacle, the vehicle is going to drive like this, and then it's this, and then the idea here is that you play with low range. The first thing we're going to talk about is low range, the low gearing, going down and up. And they said, fantastic, Andrew, we're absolutely thrilled. Can we have it? Have you finished it? And I said, yes, we finished it. We finished it. We've got 9 obstacles, whatever it was. Yes, we finished it. Could we have it? I said, no. Why not? And I said, I haven't been paid. No, you'll be paid. No, don't worry about that. That's nothing to worry about. Can we have it? And I said, I'm sorry, gentlemen, ladies. I am not giving you any more information until I get paid the full amount. The 10 deposit, and the 10 for completion. I have the completion thing in my hands now. I've shown you the first 3. I have it right here. You pay me what you owe me now for the work done now, because of course I hadn't paid John anything, and you can have it. Oh, look, and they went on and on and on. The architect was sitting there, and I looked at him, and he tried not to make eye contact. His body language was, you stick to your guns, mate. That was his body language. So I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to. I have people to pay. I have people that assisted me to do this. And I did a lot of traveling, and he did a lot. John did a lot of traveling, and we need to be paid for our work. And so it stops right here if I'm not being paid. Well, there was a bit of an argument in the thing and talking about why hasn't Andrew been paid, and no, we'll pay him right now. We'll pay him right now. And I said, that's great. I'm going to be here for 2 days. I'm leaving. When the money is in my account, I'll come by and give you it. No, just give it to us now. We're going to pay it. And they went on and on and on. And I just said, no, you're not getting it. I get paid or you're not getting it. So it was a bit of unpleasantness. And I left. I got a call from the architects. Well done, Andrew, for standing your ground. We have not been paid. Not only have we not been paid, we have just been fired. We have done the drawings, we handed them over, and we've been fired. Interesting. Thank you so much for telling me. I gave John a call and said, John, this is what's happened. And he was a good mate of mine. He said, Andrew, if you get paid, pay me. If you don't get paid, hey, it was fun. Very easygoing guy. And that's because he was a friend. He could have said, look, Andrew, I've done the work and, you owe me the 5. But he didn't. He didn't. Now, I'm not going to give names now. That would be unfair. But there was quite a newly fledged off-road driving school that was based themselves just north of Johannesburg. And the chap, quite a young guy, had been called in by Extreme-16 and asked to design and develop the track. Now, while I had shown them what my first 3 obstacles were, I didn't leave the papers there with them. I took them with me. So anything they would have taken, they would have had to do from memory. And apparently he had developed this track for them. Good for that. And I just thought, I hope he gets paid. Must have been about a year later, I was given a call from an agency. Andrew, because at the time I had my TV series had just started, so that's a clue actually. My TV series had just started, so this was probably 2005. That's a clue actually. They said, you've got this 4x4 series, do you have footage? And I said, yeah, bags of footage. Years and years of production footage. Oh, it's fantastic. Now, my name is da-da-da, and we're representing Extreme-16, okay? And we're desperately in need of some footage. Right, okay. What do you need the footage for? There is a rights issue here. If you're going to use it for broadcast, it's going to cost you more than it's going to cost if you want it just for, maybe the launch. No, I want it for the launch. Part of my contract with them was to supply footage for their launch. That was part of the total 20 grand or something. All right. We need it for the launch. And I remember this was a Monday or a Tuesday. When's your launch? No, Saturday. Your launch is on Saturday. You want the footage now? Right, okay. Well, that's fine. Yeah, I can help you out. I can definitely help you out. What have you got? And I said, what do you want? I got anything. So I said, right, it's going to cost you $20,000. 20,000 rands. She laughed. I said, look, I hope you've been paid. I was never paid for the work that I did do for Extreme-16. If you haven't been paid, I would get paid before you do anything else. So here's the deal. And I was the only one that I know of at the time with a 4x4 show. But anyway, I said, if you want my footage, I will put it on a hard drive this afternoon. We will do an express courier to you. You'll have it in 24 hours. All right? It's available to you. It will cost you 20,000 rands. And the 20,000, I have to tell you, has to be paid in my bank account, which is going to take 2 days, because that's the banking system. It's going to take a minimum of 2 days, so you better get on it. And she tried to negotiate. Of course she tried to negotiate. And I said, look, I've been down this road a year ago. No, absolutely not. I'm not going to lift a finger until that 20K is in my account. She said, okay. 2 days later, 20 grand arrived in my account. I sent them the hard drive. Fast as I could, put the footage on the hard drive, sent it to them. Gave John a call. Paid John. I can't remember exactly how much I paid John. I think it was 5. I think his initial costings was 5, whatever it was. He got his fee for the work done. I was very pleased to be able to pay him, even though it was very, very late. But the best part of this story has yet to come. The motoring press was lots of press were invited to a Saturday morning launch at Extreme-16. Here was this big thing, and they had this huge screen where they were going to project my footage, and they had an opening, an area. They gathered, and to drive onto the course, you had to drive on a bridge, and the bridge was made out of railway sleepers like this, all the way over this bridge. And there was a vehicle, beautifully decked out, Land Rover 90, just ready to go. And they handed out drinks, and everybody was da-da-da. Of course, I was not invited, even though I was probably certainly one of the most well-known four-wheel drive journalists in the country. Of course, I was not invited. And this is the best part of the story. Everybody 1 and 5, they did a countdown, a whole thing, and of course, having rained the previous night, the wood was wet. And those of you who understand four-wheel drive tires and traction know that when rubber gets wet, when wood gets wet, it's an ice rink. It's extremely slippery. The Land Rover could not get over the first obstacle. It sat there on all 4 wheels, spinning with 0 grip. When I heard this story, I was a very, very happy man. I hope you enjoy that little story. I think it's a good one. They got their comeuppance, and Extreme-16 failed. Failed completely. Its doors closed within a year, or something like that, and it was then sold from one dealership to the other. The sad part about this is that the developers probably knew it was going to fail. They had got such enormous investments that they had pocketed and cheated so many people out of their rightful, work done incomes, that they probably walked away with a fat load of cash, leaving the debt in the hands of others. Some people, some businesses operate like this. But turned out that I and John, my friend John, we were okay. Hope you enjoyed it.